Ancient stones stand in silent circles around the world, guarding secrets thousands of years old. These long abandoned stone enclosures represent one of archaeology's greatest and most enduring puzzles. We are about to journey across continents to uncover 30 of these mysterious sites, whose original purposes have baffled experts for centuries. By the end, you will possess a new perspective on the ambitions and beliefs of forgotten civilizations. We will investigate why a massive cliffside fort might be an astronomical instrument, and what compelled people to move mountains of rock for a purpose they never wrote down. What does it truly mean to leave a mark on the world that no one can later explain? These structures emerged from a world without written words, a time when memory was etched into the landscape itself. Communities across the globe dedicated generations of labor to this single, monumental task, hauling stones that weighed many tons into formations that defied simple explanation. On the misty moors of Britain, they raised circles from the very earth. In the high, thin air of the Peruvian Andes, they fitted rocks together with a precision that seems impossible without modern tools. Each site was built with the materials at hand, a testament to deep local knowledge and a profound understanding of the land. Yet the greatest mystery is not how they were built, but why they were left behind. Many enclosures show no evidence of a sudden end, no signs of a great conflict or a devastating natural event. Instead, the departure appears to have been a slow, deliberate turning away, as if the meaning that once filled these spaces was gradually withdrawn, leaving only the silent stones. To understand their purpose, we must look past the stones themselves and into the world that created them. What beliefs were so powerful they could command such effort? What need was so great that it justified moving mountains? The answers are not inscribed on any wall, but are hidden in the soil, the alignment of the stars, and the fragments of tools and ceremonial objects left behind. This is a puzzle where every clue is a whisper from a distant past. That profound silence is precisely what makes these places so magnetic. We are drawn to these ancient enclosures not in spite of the mystery, but because of it. A castle ruin tells you it was a home for royalty, and a Roman bathhouse clearly served a civic purpose, but these stones offer no such clarity. They present a blank slate, a riddle carved in granite and slate, and our minds instinctively rush to fill the void. This is the core of their timeless appeal, a powerful cocktail of historical intrigue and the basic human drive to solve a puzzle. Without a single decipherable inscription or a cache of definitive artifacts, every theory holds weight. The professional archaeologist surveying with precise instruments sees the potential for a sophisticated astronomical calendar, tracking solstices with uncanny accuracy. The spiritual seeker feels an echo of sacred ritual, a space consecrated for ceremonies now lost to time. The local storyteller might envision a great chieftain's feasting hall or a communal marketplace. Each interpretation is a reflection not only of the site itself, but of the person standing before it. We are all invited to become detectives in this ancient cold case, piecing together clues from the alignment of a doorway, the wear pattern on a threshold, or the way the morning light strikes a specific stone on the longest day of the year. This active participation, this collaboration across centuries, transforms a simple visit into a personal investigation. We are not just learning about history, we are engaging in a conversation with it, asking questions that these silent sentinels have been waiting millennia to hear. The stones themselves may be silent, but the earth around them holds a vibrant conversation. To listen in, modern investigators have assembled a scientific toolkit that feels almost like detective work from the future. Ground-penetrating radar acts like an X-ray for the soil, sending pulses deep into the ground to map foundations, post holes, and hidden chambers without ever lifting a shovel. This allows researchers to see the ghostly blueprint of a site, the parts that have been swallowed by time. From the sky, LiDAR technology pierces through dense forest canopies, digitally stripping away the vegetation to reveal the true shape of the land, exposing walls and terraces that have been invisible for centuries. Back in the laboratory, other clues come to light. Tiny fragments of charcoal or ancient seeds found nestled between stones can be subjected to radiocarbon dating. This process measures the steady decay of radioactive carbon, acting as a molecular clock that pinpoints when that organic material was last alive. This provides a solid timeline, anchoring the construction or use of an enclosure to a specific window in history. Meanwhile, geologists can analyze the very rock of the structures, matching its mineral fingerprint to known quarries. This simple act can trace the journey of a single megalith, revealing ancient trade networks and the astonishing distances our ancestors were willing to travel for the perfect stone. Yet science alone cannot decode the human heart behind these monuments. This is where ethnographic studies provide a crucial layer of understanding. By carefully studying the traditions, oral histories, and ceremonial practices of modern indigenous cultures connected to these lands, researchers can glimpse potential echoes of the past. A particular alignment might resonate with a creation story, or a ceremonial ground might share a layout with an ancient enclosure. These are not definitive answers, but powerful, living clues. The final picture emerges not from a single discipline, but from a mosaic of data where a satellite image, a lab result, and an elder's story are all pieces of the same grand, unsolved puzzle. The first of these great puzzles rises from the sea, a fortress of stone defying the Atlantic winds. Aonghasa grips the very edge of a 100-meter cliff on Ireland's Aran Islands, a sweeping semicircle of dry stone walls that seem to grow directly from the rock. Its builders fitted these massive blocks together with such skill that no mortar was ever needed, creating defenses that have endured for millennia. The sea has claimed the other half of the structure, leaving one to wonder if the original design was a complete circle, a thought that forever hangs over the crashing waves below. Stepping inside the outer walls reveals one of its most intriguing features, a deadly garden of sharp, upright stones known as a cheval de frise. This defensive ring of jagged rock would have made any direct assault a slow and painful ordeal, a clear argument for the site's role as an impenetrable stronghold. Yet the very precision of its concentric walls, the immense communal effort required, and its breathtaking, almost theatrical placement on the cliff's edge whisper of a purpose far beyond mere defense. Why build with such grand, sweeping ceremony if the only goal was protection? Some researchers point to the alignment of the entranceways, suggesting they may frame the rising sun on specific dates like the solstices, transforming the entire fort into a colossal astronomical instrument. This duality is the core of the mystery. Was Aonghasa a king's fortress, a druid's temple, or a seamless fusion of both where power and the sacred were one and the same? It stands as a powerful reminder that in the ancient world, the lines between the military, the communal, and the spiritual were often beautifully and intentionally blurred. Across the sea, another stone circle holds its secrets under the Iberian sun. The Almendres Cromlech in Portugal is a sprawling arrangement of 95 granite stones, standing in silent ovals and circles across a gentle slope. This complex is older than its famous cousin Stonehenge, a fact that deepens its mystery. Many of these menhirs are marked with strange, weathered carvings, rings, and lines etched into their surfaces that hint at a symbolic language we can no longer read. The true genius of the layout, however, lies in its relationship with the sky. The entire formation is carefully oriented, with specific stones and sightlines that appear to frame the sunrise during equinoxes and solstices. This was more than a random collection of boulders. It was a sophisticated observatory built from the Earth itself, a testament to a deep and precise understanding of the cosmos. What makes the site even more enigmatic is what archaeologists have not found. There are no burial mounds, no fragments of everyday pottery, no evidence that people ever lived here. This profound absence of domestic life strongly suggests the enclosure was reserved for something else entirely, a sacred space where the community gathered for rituals that connected them directly to the cycles of the heavens. It was a colossal stone calendar, a place where time itself was measured by the shifting light and shadow across these ancient monoliths. The full meaning of those rituals, the songs that were sung, and the ceremonies that were performed under the watchful eyes of those carved stones, is a silent echo we are still striving to hear. Descending from the sunlit circles of the surface, our journey takes a profound turn underground. Deep within the Mediterranean island of Malta lies a world carved in reverse, a labyrinth known as the Hypogeum of Saflieni. This is not a structure built from the ground up, but one painstakingly excavated from the living limestone, a subterranean complex spanning 3 intricate levels. Its discovery was a pure accident in 1902, when workers breaking ground for a new home broke through into a void, uncovering an entrance to a forgotten realm. Inside, a maze of chambers, halls, and passages unfolds, all hewn with astonishing skill from the rock itself. The scale of this underground achievement is almost beyond comprehension, representing generations of dedicated labor with only simple stone tools. The most immediate clue to its purpose was also the most sobering. The complex was found to be the final resting place for a vast number of individuals, with estimates reaching many thousands. This clear funerary function suggests the Hypogeum served as a massive communal tomb, a sacred underworld for the departed. Yet to label it simply a cemetery is to overlook its most haunting and enigmatic feature, its sound. Certain chambers within the Hypogeum possess extraordinary acoustic properties. In one space, now called the Oracle Room, a voice spoken in a specific tone resonates through the stone, creating a deep, reverberating echo that seems to fill the entire chamber. This is not a random echo, but a carefully engineered sonic effect, where sound amplifies and travels through the rock in ways that feel both mystical and intentional. This manipulation of sound opens a window into a possible ritualistic world. One can envision a spiritual leader speaking into a niche, their voice transformed into an omnipotent, disembodied rumble that would have been perceived as the voice of a deity or an ancestral spirit. This acoustic phenomenon could have been the heart of an oracle, a place where the community sought guidance from forces beyond their understanding. The line between a tomb and a temple begins to blur. Was this a silent city of the dead, or was it a vibrant, living sanctuary where ceremonies bridged the gap between the living and the departed? The very stones seemed to hold this duality, a place of quiet remembrance that was once alive with powerful, resonant chants. The true purpose of the Hypogeum likely lies in that space between, a sacred complex where death, ritual, and a profound understanding of the physical world converged into something uniquely mysterious. The complexity of Callanish unfolds under the vast, shifting skies of Scotland's Isle of Lewis. Here, a forest of grey granite monoliths rises from the peat, arranged not in a simple circle but in a profound cross-shaped pattern. A central ring is punctuated by a single, towering stone nearly 5 meters tall, from which long avenues of standing stones stretch out towards the cardinal directions, like arms reaching across the landscape. This intricate design immediately sets it apart from more famous sites, suggesting a blueprint of immense symbolic importance that we have yet to fully decipher. The astronomical precision woven into this stone tapestry is breathtaking. While many ancient sites track the sun, Callanish possesses a unique relationship with the moon. Every 18.6 years, our moon reaches an extreme position in its long, slow cycle, and at this precise moment from the heart of the circle, an observer would witness a celestial spectacle. The full moon appears to skim the southern horizon, seeming to dance along the ridges before dramatically dipping out of sight, only to reappear by gliding directly between the stones of the southern avenue. This was no accident. It was a sophisticated lunar observatory, its architecture calibrated to predict a cycle that takes nearly a generation to complete. What kind of society needed to mark time in such grand generational increments? This long count suggests a deep cultural patience, a need to connect the rhythms of their community to the slow, majestic pulse of the cosmos itself. Local legends born centuries later offer a more dramatic origin. They speak of giants who once walked the island, who were turned to stone as punishment for refusing to abandon their old ways for a new faith. This folklore, while not historical fact, is a powerful metaphor for the site itself, a timeless presence that stubbornly resists a single, simple explanation. For archaeologists, the absence of large burial mounds points away from a purely funerary function. Instead, they envision Callanish as a ceremonial center, a sacred gathering place where communities would converge for seasonal rituals. Perhaps it was a place of ancestor veneration, where the moon's slow dance connected the living with the spirits of those who came before. The true intent of its builders is as shrouded as the Hebridean mists that often envelop the stones, leaving us with a structure of stunning mathematical clarity, whose ultimate human meaning remains just out of reach. Far to the south, another civilization chose stone to proclaim its greatness, building without mortar on a scale that still inspires awe. The ruins of Great Zimbabwe rise from a golden grassland, their massive, curving walls crafted from perfectly fitted granite blocks. This was the heart of a kingdom, the largest ancient structure built south of the vast Sahara Desert. Constructed by the Shona people over centuries, from the 11th to the 15th, the complex is a city of stone divided into distinct realms. The hill complex, perched atop a granite dome, looks down over the grander enclosures below, its elevated position suggesting a place of authority or deep ritual. But the most breathtaking section is the great enclosure itself, a vast oval space defined by a towering wall that in places reaches 11 meters high. The sheer scale of the masonry is staggering, a display of power and wealth that must have dominated the surrounding landscape. Within these walls lies one of the site's most enduring puzzles, a solid conical tower that mirrors the shape of a nearby granary but is built entirely of stone with no interior space. What was its purpose? Was it a symbolic granary representing the king's wealth and his ability to provide for his people? Or was it an astronomical marker, a religious symbol, or something else entirely that we have not yet conceived? The absence of written records from its builders means we must read the architecture itself for clues. The layout suggests a society where political power, spiritual life, and economic control were deeply intertwined. This was likely a royal city, a center for administration and trade that connected the African interior with merchants from distant coasts. Artifacts like Chinese porcelain and Arabian glass found here speak of a network that spanned oceans. Yet, by the 15th century, this vibrant hub was gradually abandoned. The reasons remain unclear, with theories pointing to shifting trade routes, environmental changes like a depletion of local resources, or simple political evolution. There was no evidence of a destructive invasion, only a slow, deliberate departure. The people moved on, leaving their magnificent stone capital to the elements, a silent testament to a sophisticated African civilization whose full story is still being carefully unearthed from the very stones it left behind. High in the thin, punishing air of the French Alps, a solitary ring of stones defies explanation. The Clapier de Lachata huddles on a remote mountainside, a circular enclosure built far from any known village or well-traveled path. Its location is not just isolated, it is profoundly inaccessible, requiring a difficult and dangerous climb even with modern equipment. One must ask what powerful motivation drove people to haul these stones and raise these walls in a place so removed from the comforts and community of daily life. The structure itself offers few definitive clues. Its walls are low, and a small central construction stands within the circle, yet archaeologists have found none of the usual signs of a home. There are no hearths for warmth, no scattered shards of cooking pots, no lost tools or weapons. This profound absence of domestic life immediately casts doubt on the idea of a permanent settlement. The most straightforward theory suggests it was a seasonal abri, a shelter for shepherds following their flocks to high summer pastures. Yet even this practical explanation feels incomplete. Why build something so substantial and enduring for a temporary seasonal activity? The sheer, back-breaking effort seems to outweigh the simple need for a windbreak. This imbalance points toward a purpose that was far more significant to its builders. Another compelling idea is that this was a sacred space, a ritual site dedicated to the powerful and unpredictable deities of the mountain. In a world where survival depended on the mercy of the elements, appeasing the spirits of the storm, the sun, and the rock would have been a matter of life and death. The very act of journeying to this arduous place could have been a test of faith, a pilgrimage that proved one's devotion. The enclosure might have served as a ceremonial ground for offerings or prayers, a desperate attempt to negotiate with the forces that controlled the weather and the health of the herds. The truth may lie somewhere in between the practical and the spiritual. Perhaps it was both, a shelter that was also a shrine, where the daily work of herding was inseparable from the rituals needed to ensure its success. The Clapier de Lachata stands as a stark reminder that for ancient peoples, the line between survival and sanctity was often invisible. In such a harsh environment, every action was a prayer, and every stone laid was an act of hope against the immense, indifferent power of the mountains. Carved from a single, colossal block of sandstone, the Dwarfie Stane rests in solitude on the Orkney island of Hoy. It is a monumental puzzle box, a tomb or perhaps something else entirely, hollowed out by hand with stone tools and immense patience. A small, square entrance forces any visitor to crouch low, entering into a space containing two bare, cell-like chambers. Its form is unmistakably Neolithic, echoing the chambered tombs found across the region, yet it stands utterly alone in a vast and dramatic valley, separated from any other known settlement or monument. This profound isolation is the heart of its mystery. Why would a community invest such staggering effort into a project so far from the center of their daily lives? The absence of any human remains inside only deepens the question. Without the clear evidence of a burial, the stone's original purpose becomes a blank slate. Local folklore, perhaps trying to rationalize the impossible, filled the void with tales of dwarfs or trolls, powerful beings of the earth who could have wrought such a thing. Yet these stories only push the real enigma further back in time. Could this have been a retreat for a spiritual hermit, someone seeking ultimate solitude in a landscape that feels both majestic and severe? Or might its placement and that single, narrow doorway have served a celestial function, framing a specific star or the sun on a significant day. The truth is that the Dwarfie Stane's silence is more profound than that of a communal tomb. It speaks not of a community honoring its ancestors together, but of a singular, focused intention, a reason powerful enough to justify quarrying a home from a solid mountain of rock for a purpose that has since vanished from human memory. The sheer ambition of Karnak is almost beyond human comprehension. Thousands upon thousands of standing stones march across the Breton landscape in France, arranged in long, precise rows that stretch for kilometers like a petrified army. This is the megalithic maze of Karnak, a collection of alignments that together form one of the most extensive and baffling prehistoric monuments on Earth. With over 3,000 stones erected across multiple sites, the scale of labor involved is staggering, representing a communal effort that must have spanned countless generations. The stones themselves vary from modest, waist-high menhirs to towering giants, all placed with an undeniable sense of order. This is not a random scattering of rocks, but a deliberate, sprawling design whose pattern we can no longer fully decipher. Walking among these silent ranks, one feels the ghost of a grand intention, a purpose so vital it commanded the focus of an entire culture. The most prominent theory suggests these long avenues served as sacred processional pathways. One can envision a community moving in solemn ceremony along these stone-lined corridors, perhaps during the solstices or equinoxes, their journey through the landscape mirroring the sun's own path across the sky. The alignments may have physically guided these rituals, creating a defined sacred space that separated the everyday world from the realm of the gods and ancestors. Yet the stones also align with celestial events with a precision that argues for another function. Specific rows appear to frame the sunrise on key dates, suggesting the entire complex could have acted as a colossal open-air calendar. This would have been a vital tool for an agricultural society, marking the turning of the seasons for planting and harvest with a certainty written in stone. But why use so many stones? Why this overwhelming repetition across such a vast distance? No single theory, whether ceremonial or astronomical, completely satisfies the question of such monumental excess. It is as if the act of placing the stone was as important as the final pattern, a continuous, generations-long project that itself may have been the central ritual, binding the community to the land and to a shared, enduring purpose. The alignments of Karnak remain a question written in granite, a testament to a collective will whose final message is a mystery that still walks among the stones. The desert holds its secrets close, but the sands of southern Egypt have surrendered one of the most profound. The Nabta Playa stone circle rests in the heart of the Nubian desert, a collection of weathered stones that look almost accidental against the vast, empty landscape. Yet this unassuming site is a titan of ancient knowledge, one of the world's oldest known astronomical observatories, dating back more than 7,000 years. This was a time long before the pyramids, when the Sahara was a greener land, a place where nomadic cattle herders would follow the rains to a seasonal lake, a playa. It was here, at this life-giving water source, that they arranged the stones with a purpose we can still discern today. The central stones align precisely with the rising sun of the summer solstice, while other slabs point toward the brightest stars in the night sky. This was not a random arrangement, it was a sophisticated calendar carved from the desert floor. These early stargazers used it to predict the coming of the monsoon rains, the most critical event in their annual cycle. The arrival of the solstice sun over a specific stone would have signaled that it was time to gather at the playa, that the water would return and the land would bloom once more. This practical, life-saving function is clear, yet it invites a deeper question. Was this circle merely a tool for survival, a simple clock for the seasons? Or did the very act of marking the heavens carry a profound ritual weight for these people? The stones themselves offer no clear answer. There are no carvings, no altars, no obvious signs of ceremony. The sophistication of Nabta Playa completely upends the old narrative that such complex astronomy began only with settled, agricultural societies. Here, a nomadic culture, moving with their herds, demonstrated a precise understanding of celestial cycles that rivals later monuments. This forces us to reconsider the very origins of science. Was the drive to understand the cosmos born not from the stability of cities, but from the necessity of the open road, from the urgent need to read the sky in order to live? The full cultural significance of the circle is a ghost in the desert wind. We can see the mechanics of its genius, the how of its function, but the why of its meaning. The songs sung, the prayers offered as the solstice sun crested the horizon has been erased by 7 millennia of shifting sand. It stands as a silent challenge, a puzzle left by humanity's first astronomers, whose gaze upward was as practical as it was, perhaps, filled with wonder. The stones of Clova cairns rise from a quiet Scottish field near Inverness, their purpose etched not in words but in the path of the dying winter sun. This group of prehistoric burial cairns and standing stones presents a riddle of profound harmony, where architecture, the afterlife, and the cosmos are woven into a single design. The most striking feature is the precise alignment of the stone-lined passages within the cairns. These dark, narrow corridors are oriented directly toward the setting sun on the day of the midwinter solstice, the shortest and darkest day of the year. For a few fleeting moments, the low, brilliant light of the solstice sunset would have poured down the passage, illuminating the inner chamber where the remains of the departed were laid to rest. This was no accident of construction. It was a deliberate, symbolic act of incredible power. What did this annual event mean to the people who built it? The alignment suggests a spiritual worldview that saw death not as an end, but as a transition intimately connected to the cycles of nature. The return of the sun after the solstice, the promise of light reborn from the deepest dark, would have been a potent metaphor for renewal and the enduring spirit. We can envision a community gathering here in the cold twilight, witnessing this celestial alignment as part of a ceremony to honor their ancestors, perhaps believing the sunlight itself guided or nourished the departed on their journey. Yet the cairns themselves offer frustratingly few other clues. Despite their clear funerary function, excavations have yielded very few artifacts, no rich trove of grave goods that might tell us more about the rituals performed or the status of the individuals buried within. This scarcity makes the stones themselves the primary text. The careful selection of different colored rocks, the intricate patterning of the cairn walls, and the surrounding circle of standing stones all speak of a deep, layered symbolism that we can only partially grasp. The full meaning of the chants, the offerings, or the specific beliefs that turned a burial ground into a sophisticated astronomical instrument is lost to us. Clova Cairn stands as a silent monument to a culture that saw no separation between the earth and the sky, between the realm of the ancestors and the daily life of the living, a beautiful, haunting integration of existence that we are still striving to fully comprehend. Rising from the volcanic plains of the Golan Heights, Rujum el-Hiri is a sprawling enigma of dark basalt. Its name translates to stone heap of the wild cat, but this description hardly captures the scale of its design. 5 massive concentric stone circles, built from thousands of rough rocks, enclose a central cairn, creating a pattern that from above resembles a vast, ancient wheel embedded in the earth. The sheer volume of stone is staggering, a testament to a communal effort that must have dominated the lives of generations. The most compelling clue to its original purpose is written in the sky. Key openings in the walls align with remarkable precision to the rising sun on the equinoxes, those 2 days of perfect balance between light and dark. This suggests the entire complex functioned as a colossal celestial calendar, a stone instrument for marking the seasons with an astronomer's accuracy. Yet the story is not so simple. The central cairn, a tomb-like structure, was not part of the original blueprint. It was added centuries later, a fact that complicates the narrative completely. This layering of history turns the site into a palimpsest, where one ancient intention was written over by another. Was this primarily an observatory, a sacred space for watching the heavens, that a later culture repurposed as a prestigious resting place for an important individual? Or did its builders always envision a dual purpose, a place where the cycles of the cosmos and the journey of the human spirit were inherently connected? The central tomb's later addition argues against a single, unified plan, yet the possibility remains that the site's spiritual significance made it a natural focal point for honoring the dead. This unresolved duality is the heart of its mystery. We are left with a monument that refuses a single interpretation, a place where science and ceremony are forever intertwined in the silent, dark stone. The debate between fortress and temple finds a spectacular focus on the sun-baked island of Sardinia. Here, the Nurag of Barumini stands not as a single tower, but as a miniature stone city, a labyrinth of circular towers, winding corridors, and enclosed courtyards all knitted together from massive basalt blocks. This is the masterpiece of the Nuragic civilization, a people who dominated the island for centuries, leaving behind thousands of these unique structures, yet never providing a written word to explain them. The sheer thickness of the walls and the commanding view from the central tower make a compelling case for a defensive stronghold, a place of last refuge during times of conflict. But to walk through its intricate passages is to feel the limitations of that simple explanation. The layout is complex and almost ceremonial, with hidden stairways, sudden courtyards, and a central tholos chamber with a dramatic corbelled roof that draws the eye upward. This feels less like a blunt instrument of war and more like a carefully designed stage for community life. Could these towers have been the heart of a village, a place for storing communal wealth, for administering justice, or for hosting the feasts that bound society together? The absence of obvious battlements or strategic kill zones in many Nuraghi fuels this enduring debate. Perhaps their primary defense was not in their walls, but in their very presence, a towering symbol of a chieftain's power and the community's collective strength, deterring conflict through sheer display. Without any decipherable records, the Nurag of Barumini remains a stone riddle. It challenges us to see beyond our own categories, to understand a world where safety, spirituality, and social status were not separate ideas, but different facets of the same solid, enduring stone. High above the former capital of the Inca Empire, a fortress seems to defy the very mountain it rests upon. Sacsayhuaman's colossal zigzagging walls, assembled from stones weighing hundreds of tons, are a breathtaking display of power and precision. The Incas themselves called it a fortress, and its elevated, defensive position overlooking Cusco makes that role seem undeniable. Yet to walk among these cyclopean blocks is to feel a sense of profound contradiction. Why would a purely military structure demand such artistic and engineering perfection? The stonework here is arguably the finest the Incas ever produced, with each behemoth shaped and polished to fit its neighbors so perfectly that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. This was not merely stacking rocks, it was a form of lithic poetry, a puzzle of interlocking stone that has withstood centuries of earthquakes. This incredible effort hints at a purpose far grander than simple defense. Some researchers see the vast, open esplanades within the walls as stages for great ceremonial gatherings, where the Inca emperor would preside over rituals that united the heavens with the earthly realm. The zigzag pattern of the walls themselves might have represented the lightning bolt, a powerful symbol of the Andean god Illapa, suggesting the entire complex was a temple to the forces of nature. Other theories point to the rows of small, circular foundations found on the site, proposing they were the bases for massive storehouses, or kul, kas, used to hold everything from textiles to grain, cementing Sacsayhuaman's role as the economic heart of the empire. Its alignment with celestial bodies also suggests it could have functioned as a sophisticated observatory, tracking the sun and stars for both ceremonial and agricultural calendars. The tragic loss that clouds our understanding is the Spanish conquest, which led to the systematic dismantling of the upper structures and the destruction of the quipu, the knotted string records that may have held the complex true history. What remains are these foundational walls, a monumental question mark in stone, asking us whether we are looking at a fortress that housed the sacred or a temple that was fortified, a reminder that for the Inca, the spiritual and the strategic were often one and the same. This minimalist arrangement on the Dartmoor landscape speaks a quiet but powerful language. The medieval stone rows are not a fortress or a temple, but something more abstract, two parallel lines of standing stones marching purposefully across the open moor. They lead the eye and, one can imagine, once led the feet of a community toward a central burial cairn and a small stone circle. The entire composition feels deliberate, a geometric statement etched into the wild terrain. The most compelling interpretation is that this was a processional route, a sacred pathway for rituals that may have honored the journey from life into whatever lay beyond. The progression from the rows to the circle and finally to the cairn could map a spiritual passage, a physical reenactment of a belief in death and rebirth tied to the eternal cycles of the moor itself. Some researchers point to the possibility of lunar alignments, where the stones could have framed the rising of the moon on significant dates, weaving celestial time into the ceremony. Yet the very simplicity of the site is what guards its secret most fiercely. Exposed for millennia to wind and rain, the stones have yielded few artifacts, no hidden caches of offerings or tools that could confirm these theories. This profound lack of evidence opens the door to other, more pragmatic ideas. Could these lines have served as territorial markers, defining the grazing lands or the meeting points of different clans in a vast and open landscape? Or did they fulfill a practical function we have simply failed to recognize, something related to water drainage, animal herding, or a form of ancient surveying that is now invisible to us? The stark beauty of Marival is that it refuses to confirm any single story. It stands as a minimalist monument, a set of profound questions posed in granite against the endless sky, reminding us that some ancient beliefs were expressed not through grandeur, but through quiet, deliberate lines leading toward the horizon. Deep in the humid heart of a Costa Rican rainforest, a different kind of stone puzzle awaits. The Guayabo National Monument shelters an ancient city where earthen mounds and stone-paved avenues speak of a sophisticated society. But it is the artifacts scattered here that truly capture the imagination, the famous stone spheres of Costa Rica. These are not rough-hewn boulders, but objects of stunning geometric perfection, carved from granite with a smooth, almost impossible roundness. Their creation is a mystery in itself. How did a pre-Columbian culture without metal tools or the wheel achieve such flawless symmetry on stones weighing several tons each? The process likely involved a masterful combination of heating the rock with fire, then cooling it rapidly with water to create fracture lines, before painstakingly pecking and grinding them into shape over generations. This was not a quick task, but a long-term investment in creating something profoundly significant. But what was that significance? The spheres have been found placed in alignments, some leading to important structures like the chieftain's mound, others arranged in geometric patterns whose original logic has been lost to the reclaiming jungle. This deliberate placement suggests they were far more than decorative ornaments. One compelling theory posits they were astronomical markers, their positions mapping out celestial bodies or solar events, turning the entire settlement into a vast observatory under the open sky. Another idea sees them as ultimate status symbols, the sheer difficulty of their creation broadcasting the power and prestige of a ruling family or a specific clan. In a world without written currency, the labor invested in a single sphere represented immense social capital. Yet their perfect, unbroken form also hints at a deeper spiritual purpose. They could have represented the sun, the moon, or the very cosmos, solid embodiments of deities or cosmic principles central to their belief system. The true meaning of the spheres is inseparable from the site itself, a planned community with sophisticated aqueducts that still function today. This was a society in harmony with its environment, mastering water and stone for a purpose that feels both practical and sacred. The silence they left behind is a powerful void, a riddle crafted in granite by a culture that clearly mastered its world, but chose to leave no manual for the ages. Carved from the living rock of the Saudi Arabian desert, Qasr al-Farid rises as a solitary monument to ambition. Its name translates to the lonely castle, and it lives up to the title, standing in profound isolation against an ocean of sand. This is not a structure built from quarried blocks, but one entirely hewn from a single, massive outcrop of stone, a 4-story tomb facade emerging from the earth itself. The craftsmanship is unmistakably Nabatean, bearing the same elegant, classical influence as the famous tombs of their capital, Petra. Its purpose as a final resting place seems clear, yet this clarity only deepens the central mystery. Why is it here, so far from any known Nabatean settlement or trade route, a lone sentinel in an empty expanse? The sheer scale and artistry of the carving suggest it was intended for a person of immense importance, perhaps a powerful merchant prince or a revered tribal leader. One can envision a plan for this to be the centerpiece of a new necropolis, a declaration of power in a burgeoning territory, yet the project was abruptly abandoned. The tomb facade is beautifully detailed on one side, but the opposite face remains a raw, unfinished surface, showing the clear marks of the stoneworker's tools frozen in time. This sudden halt invites a cascade of questions. Did the patron pass away before its completion, leaving no one to carry on the work? Did political instability or a shift in trade routes make this remote location suddenly untenable? Or was there a deeper, more symbolic reason for its solitude, intended from the start to be a singular statement of independence or faith? The desert offers no answers. It simply holds this magnificent, incomplete masterpiece, a powerful reminder that the grandest of human plans are sometimes left for the sands to keep. 17 stones still stand on the Orkney mainland, a proud but incomplete crown around a wide circle of land. The Ring of Brodgar was once a full assembly of 60 monoliths, a staggering display of ambition on this windswept coast. Encircling it all is a massive, man-made ditch cut directly into the bedrock, a moat that separates the sacred from the everyday. This is not a small, hidden circle, but a grand public statement in the landscape, part of the heart of Neolithic Orkney, a title that speaks to its profound significance. The sheer scale of the labor is a clear message from the past, a declaration that this place mattered deeply. Yet for all its grandeur, the ring gives up very few of its secrets. Archaeologists have found no traces of burials here, no shards of pottery from daily meals, no evidence that anyone ever made this place their home. This profound absence is the key to the mystery. It tells us the Ring of Brodgar was not a dwelling and not a tomb, but a place reserved for something else entirely. What kind of gatherings happened within this majestic circle? One compelling vision is of a great seasonal festival where scattered communities would travel from across the islands to converge at this central point. At the summer or winter solstice, they might have gathered to witness the sunrise align with a specific stone, marking the turning of the year with ceremonies that reinforced their shared identity and connection to the cosmos. The circle could have served as a giant astronomical observatory, its stones acting as fixed points to track the complex dance of the sun and moon, but perhaps its purpose was even more fundamental. This may have been a neutral ground, a sacred place of assembly where different groups met to settle disputes, forge alliances, and trade goods and stories. The surrounding ditch acted as a physical and symbolic boundary, marking a space where ordinary rules were suspended and a higher social order took hold. The true power of Brodgar lies in its silence. It does not tell us what to believe. Instead, it stands as an open question, a monumental stage where the rituals of a lost world were performed, leaving only the stones as witnesses to the echoes of a forgotten crowd. The 18th enclosure presents a riddle written not in the stars, but in the very shape of the earth. Southern Spain's dolmens of Antequera are colossal stone tombs, with the dolmen of Menga standing as a titan among them. Its chamber is a breathtaking feat, roofed by slabs weighing many tons, a space meant to hold the remains of generations. Yet its true mystery lies not in its scale, but in its gaze. While nearly all other megalithic structures in Europe are oriented toward the sun, the grand entrance of Menga points directly at a singular mountain peak, La Peña de los Enamorados. This is a profound departure from the celestial norm. It speaks of a worldview where the sacred was not only in the heavens above, but also in the powerful, tangible forms of the landscape itself. The mountain, with its unmistakable silhouette resembling a sleeping giant, was clearly an anchor for their beliefs. Was it seen as a deity, a guardian, or perhaps the dwelling place of powerful ancestors? This deliberate alignment suggests a spiritual practice deeply rooted in the land, a form of geomancy where the earth's own features held divine power. The choice to orient their most important tomb toward this mountain implies a desire to connect the departed with that enduring presence, perhaps to guide them or to draw strength from it. We know from the human remains found within that this was a place of burial, a final resting place, but the ceremonies that took place here are lost to us. We can envision processions moving through that massive entrance, not toward the rising sun, but toward the silent mountain, carrying their loved ones to a chamber that physically connected them to that eternal stone sentinel. This unique blend of funerary practice and landscape veneration challenges our standard ideas about megalithic cultures. It reveals a people who saw their entire world as alive with meaning, where a mountain was not just a landmark, but a central character in their stories of life, death, and what lies beyond. South Africa's Adam's calendar presents a mystery that begins not with grand monuments, but with a quiet, circular arrangement of stones nestled in the Mpumalanga grasslands. Some researchers and enthusiasts propose this site is the oldest man-made structure on Earth, a claim that immediately sets it apart in the world of ancient enigmas. They point to specific stones within the circle that appear to align with the rising and setting sun on solstices and equinoxes, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of the solar cycle. This interpretation paints a picture of a very ancient people marking time itself on the African landscape, a profound and compelling narrative. Yet this is where the mystery truly deepens, because the academic community remains deeply divided. Many geologists and archaeologists who have studied the site argue that the formation is largely natural. They note that the distinctive arrangement of the dolerite stones could be the result of weathering and natural fracturing over millennia. The central question then becomes one of human intervention. Did ancient hands carefully reposition a few key stones to enhance a natural formation, turning it into a functional calendar? Or are we seeing patterns and purpose in what is fundamentally a beautiful geological accident? This debate makes Adam's calendar a fascinating case study in the very nature of archaeological interpretation. It forces us to confront how easily our own desire for discovery can shape the stories we tell about the past. When we stand before a silent arrangement of stones, are we seeing the faint blueprint of a forgotten civilization? Or are we witnessing the powerful human tendency to find meaning in the random shapes of the natural world? The stones themselves do not declare their origins. This ongoing conversation between different ways of knowing, between scientific skepticism and visionary inquiry, is perhaps the site's most enduring legacy. It reminds us that the line between a sacred calendar and a striking rock formation can be incredibly thin, and that some of the greatest puzzles are those that challenge not just what we know, but how we choose to see. Deep within the dense rainforests of Gabon, a different kind of mystery flows with the currents of the Ogooué River. Here, a series of stone enclosures rise from the banks, built from the region's rusty red laterite stone. Their designs shift from neat circles to defined rectangles, suggesting a variety of uses, yet they all share one profound characteristic: a deep and puzzling silence. Archaeologists find no broken pottery, no discarded tools, no hearths for fires, and no signs that anyone ever made a permanent home beside these walls. This complete absence of the everyday makes them ghosts in the landscape, structures without a clear story. Why would a community go to the considerable effort of gathering and stacking stones in such a remote and challenging environment, only to leave behind no trace of their daily lives? The most practical theory suggests these were fish traps, cleverly designed structures that used the river's flow to channel fish into enclosures for easy harvesting. In a rainforest environment where protein could be scarce, such an innovation would be invaluable. Another idea points toward agriculture, proposing the walls created raised beds or protected fertile soil from flooding in this dynamic riverine zone. Yet the very lack of domestic evidence also opens the door to a more spiritual purpose. Could these cleared, defined spaces have been ritual grounds, used for ceremonies connected to the river itself? The Ogooué is the lifeblood of the region, a powerful entity that provides food, water, and transportation. It would be natural for a community to create sacred spaces to honor this force, perhaps for initiation rites, seasonal festivals, or offerings to ensure a good catch or a bountiful harvest. The dense, enveloping jungle has guarded these secrets closely, as limited archaeological work has been conducted. Each enclosure represents a hidden chapter in the vast and diverse story of African prehistory, a silent question posed by the river, waiting for the day when the forest will allow its story to be fully heard. Across the wide plains of Senegal and Gambia, a vast and solemn assembly stands in silent tribute. The stone circles of Senegambia are not a single enclosure, but a sprawling network of thousands, a funerary landscape of breathtaking scale. Each circle is composed of carefully placed laterite pillars, their reddish-brown forms rising from the earth to encircle ancient burial sites. Here, the fundamental purpose seems clear: a marked resting place for the departed. Yet this very clarity gives rise to a deeper, more profound question. Why did this tradition persist for well over a millennium, and what shared beliefs compelled such a monumental and uniform act of remembrance across this entire region? The circles are not chaotic but follow a precise, recurring blueprint, a powerful testament to a cultural tradition that was passed down through countless generations. The stones themselves, shaped from the iron-rich earth, bear the subtle marks of their makers, but they offer no inscriptions, no carvings to narrate the ceremonies that once defined these spaces. We know that communities gathered here to honor their loved ones, but we can only wonder at the nature of those gatherings. Were they somber occasions of farewell or vibrant celebrations of a life lived, meant to guide the spirit to its next journey? The sheer number of circles suggests a society with a deeply ingrained and unified view of the afterlife, a collective understanding of how to properly honor those who had passed. The rituals performed, the words spoken, and the specific meaning behind the exact number of stones in a circle or its particular orientation are secrets the stones keep closely guarded. This plateau is not a puzzle of function but of spirit. It asks us to contemplate the powerful, unifying force of a shared belief so strong it could shape the very landscape for centuries, creating a timeless memorial to the enduring human need to mark a life and honor what comes next. Sometimes the greatest mystery is not a grand alignment but a quiet circle of neighbors. In the rolling hills of Scotland's Galloway region, the Torhouse Stone Circle presents a puzzle of profound simplicity. 19 worn granite boulders form a perfect ring, with a small, distinct trio of stones standing at its very heart. This is not a monument that shouts to the heavens. Unlike so many of its cousins, researchers have found no clear solar or lunar alignments etched into its geometry. It does not track the solstice sun or frame the equinox moon. Its purpose seems rooted not in the cosmos but in the community itself. The circle's accessible, lowland location, set amidst fertile ground rather than a remote summit, speaks of a place made for people, not priests alone. The complete absence of burial evidence further separates it from the realm of the dead, anchoring it firmly in the world of the living. So what was it? The most compelling theory paints a picture of a neutral meeting ground, a sacred space for different local tribes to gather. Here, they could resolve disputes, forge alliances, and exchange goods far from the pressures of any single village. It might have been the site of a seasonal market, where the practical work of trading livestock or grain was interwoven with ceremonies that reinforced social bonds. The 3 central stones could have served as a focal point for a chieftain to address the assembly, or perhaps as a symbolic representation of a local deity or a founding family. We can imagine the circle alive with conversation, the air filled with the sounds of barter and the scent of food cooking over open fires. Yet the specific nature of those gatherings, the meaning behind the central trio, and the very laws that were debated within this ring are secrets the stones keep. The granite holds the memory of the community, but the conversation itself has faded into the gentle Galloway wind, leaving us with a poignant reminder that some of the most important structures are those built not for eternity, but for each other. The stone towers of Menorca stand as weathered sentinels over a landscape steeped in quiet mystery. Known as talayots, these truncated cones of dry stone masonry dot the island, remnants of a culture that flourished here for centuries, leaving behind entire villages of stone, but not a single word to explain their world. Among these ruins, the most enigmatic structures are the taulas, found nowhere else on Earth. Each taula is a monumental T-shaped form, crafted from 2 massive stone slabs, a towering vertical pillar supporting a perfectly balanced horizontal capstone, all enclosed within a circular or horseshoe-shaped wall. The visual impact is both simple and deeply powerful, a geometric statement that feels both architectural and symbolic. the immediate question is unavoidable: what was the purpose of this unique design? The most prominent theory casts these spaces as open-air sanctuaries, the tola serving as a central altar for religious ceremonies. One can envision a community gathering within the enclosure, facing the massive T-form as a spiritual leader, made offerings or chanted prayers to a deity or a natural force. The shape itself is suggestive, perhaps representing a stylized human figure, a sacred bull, or even a portal between the earth and the heavens, yet without any carvings or associated artifacts that definitively point to a specific ritual. This remains an interpretation. The isolation of Menorca meant the Talaiotic culture developed its traditions with little outside influence, creating a belief system that was intensely local, born from the island's specific rhythms of sea, sky, and soil. This very distinctiveness is what makes the tolas so profoundly silent to our modern understanding. We can study the precise stonework, map the alignments, and analyze the few animal remains found nearby, but the heart of the matter, the specific prayers that were spoken, the names of the gods that were invoked, and the true meaning of that imposing T-shape to the people who built it, is a secret the stones have kept for over 3,000 years. They are a powerful reminder that some of humanity's most enduring creations were made not for an outside audience, but for a community whose entire worldview has since passed into the quiet of the earth. From the silent T-shaped sanctuaries of Menorca, we travel to a landscape where the art itself is written on such a vast scale, it can only be read from the heavens. Scattered across the stark, volcanic plains of Jordan's Black Desert, ancient stone structures known as the wheels form immense geometric patterns, their full design a secret kept from anyone standing on the ground. These are not towering monoliths, but low rings of dark basalt cobbles gathered from the desert floor, arranged into complex circles with radiating spokes that stretch out dozens of meters. They are geoglyphs, earthworks so expansive their true form is only revealed from the vantage of an aircraft or a satellite. Their age is staggering, with some dating back at least 8,000 years, a time when this harsh expanse was slightly more forgiving, a home to nomadic tribes. The fundamental question is why? Why would a people constantly on the move invest such collective effort into structures they could never fully see? One compelling theory suggests they were massive desert traps used in communal hunting. The low walls could have funneled herds of gazelle or other game toward a central enclosure where they could be more easily managed. Another idea points to a ceremonial purpose, perhaps as burial grounds or ritual spaces for gatherings that united scattered clans. The arrangement of the spokes in some wheels has also drawn the attention of archaeoastronomers, who note alignments that may have tracked the rising of key stars, serving as a celestial calendar for a people whose survival depended on reading the subtle signs of the seasons. Yet the desert, while preserving the stones, has yielded almost no artifacts, no tools or offerings left behind to confirm any single use. This profound silence makes the wheels a testament to a different kind of ingenuity, one rooted in the landscape itself. They represent a deep, non-literate language of stone, where the meaning was not inscribed on a tablet, but mapped onto the earth in a way that was intended to endure. The full cultural significance of these patterns is as elusive as the desert winds that sweep across them, a reminder that some of humanity's most ambitious statements were made not for our eyes, but for the sky itself. High on a wind-swept Wyoming mountain plateau, the Bighorn Medicine Wheel rests under an immense sky. Its form is one of elegant simplicity, a wide circle of stones with 28 spokes radiating from a central cairn, like a cosmic diagram laid gently upon the earth. This is not a fortress or a tomb, but a different kind of structure entirely, one where every stone seems placed in quiet conversation with the heavens above. The alignments are precise and undeniable, with key cairns at the wheel's rim pointing toward the rising sun of the summer solstice and the bright stars of Aldebaran, Sirius, and Rigel. For generations, this has been a living sacred site for many Northern Plains tribes, a place for vision quests, prayer, and ceremonies of healing. The wheel functions as a celestial map and a spiritual compass, guiding individuals through profound personal journeys. Yet for all we can observe about its astronomical function, the deepest meanings remain respectfully veiled. The specific prayers offered here, the detailed narratives attached to its construction, and the full breadth of its spiritual significance are preserved within protected oral traditions. This creates a unique kind of mystery, one defined not by a lack of information, but by a profound cultural privacy. The wheel is a sacred enigma that reminds us some knowledge is not meant for universal consumption, but is instead a living trust between a people and their ancestors. It stands as a powerful testament to the fact that the ultimate purpose of a place can be both deeply known and beautifully mysterious, its true essence felt rather than fully explained. A stone crown rests upon a green hill in County Donegal, its gaze sweeping across the lands of 3 modern counties. The Graianon of Ailech is a massive ring fort, its dry stone walls rebuilt yet still echoing an ancient power. For centuries, lore has named this place the Seat of Kings, a fortress from which the rulers of Ailech commanded their territory. The sheer, formidable walls speak the clear language of defense, a stronghold built to withstand any threat. But its name whispers a different story entirely, a story written in light. Graianon of Ailech translates to the Sun Temple of Ailech. This poetic name suggests a space not just for earthly kings, but for celestial events, a place where the sun itself was an honored guest. Could these walls have been designed to capture the first light of the solstice sunrise, transforming a fortress into a monumental calendar? This duality is the core of its enduring mystery. The site does not force us to choose between a royal seat and a sacred space. Instead, it presents a world where these concepts were woven together, where a king's power was derived not only from his army, but from his perceived connection to the forces of the cosmos. The hill itself was the stage, a natural platform that made one feel closer to the sky. Was the primary role of this place to intimidate rivals, or to facilitate rituals that ensured the sun's return and the fertility of the land? The stones offer no verdict. They stand as a powerful reminder that in the ancient mind, power, protection, and prayer were not separate departments of life, but different threads in the same unbreakable fabric. The true intention of its builders is held within the circular wall, a secret kept safe by the rolling Irish mists. The stark limestone pavement of Ireland's Burren stretches out like a vast grey puzzle, a landscape where stone seems to swallow the very sky. Scattered across this otherworldly expanse are the 27th Enclosures, a collection of ancient stone structures that blend so perfectly with the rock they appear to have grown from it. These are not grand, singular monuments, but a varied family of ruins, ranging from simple, circular huts to complex, corbelled structures with roofs built by stacking stones in ever-tightening circles. This diversity of form is the first clue to their mystery, hinting at a range of uses as varied as the enclosures themselves. Some of the simpler rings were likely seasonal booley houses, temporary shelters for herders who followed their cattle to the summer grasses of the high Burren. Yet many other structures lack the clear signs of domestic life, with no central hearths for warmth or middens of discarded food and tools. Why build with such care and permanence in a place so challenging? The very act of construction here was a monumental task, moving stone upon stone in a land already defined by it. This immense effort suggests these sites held a significance that transcended simple shelter. The Burren's harsh beauty, with its hidden floral treasures blooming in the grikes between the rocks, feels both sacred and severe. It is easy to envision these enclosures as way stations on a spiritual pilgrimage, or as ceremonial spaces where communities gathered to mark the turning seasons in a landscape that demanded respect and resilience. They are the quiet, enduring legacy of a people who did not merely survive in this unique environment, but who learned to read its subtle language and find their place within its stony embrace. The ocean was not a barrier but a pathway, and its greatest sanctuary lies on the shores of Raiatea. The Mare of Tapu Tapuatea is a sprawling complex of coral slabs and volcanic stone, a riverbank of sacred architecture facing the boundless Pacific. This was far more than a temple. It was the spiritual and political heart of Polynesia, a place so powerful that its name was carried across thousands of kilometers of open ocean to new islands. From here, the greatest double-hulled voyaging canoes were launched and blessed, their crews undertaking journeys into the unknown, guided by the stars, the swells, and the wisdom concentrated at this very site. The Great Central Ahu, or altar, is a towering platform of stone, its back to the land and its face open to the sea, a deliberate alignment that speaks of a culture defined by the horizon. While oral histories confirm its role as the central temple for the worship of the war god Oro, the deeper nuances of the ceremonies performed here remain a vibrant mystery. What specific chants were offered to calm a storm or call a favorable wind? What knowledge was exchanged in the sacred precincts before a navigator set sail for a new archipelago? The Mare was a university of the sea, a place where celestial navigation, boat building, and the complex genealogies that granted authority were taught and preserved. Its legacy is a living one, with cultural practitioners today working to reconnect with and revitalize the profound knowledge systems that this place represents. Researchers now understand that Tapu Tapuatea was the nodal point of a vast cultural network, a spiritual capital whose influence rippled across the Pacific from Hawaii to New Zealand. The stones themselves hold the memory of a civilization that mastered the greatest ocean on Earth, not by conquering it, but by learning to listen to its every whisper. High in the Caucasus Mountains, where the air thins and the horizons stretch forever, a silent population of stone houses clings to the slopes. These are the dolmens of the Caucasus, tens of thousands of structures built by a culture whose name has been lost to time. Each one is a masterwork of precision, a small chamber constructed from enormous stone slabs, with a single, unmistakable porthole carved directly into the front facade. This circular opening, often plugged with a massive stone, is the doorway into the mystery. The most immediate clue comes from within, where the remains of individuals have been discovered, pointing clearly toward a funerary purpose. Yet to label them simply as tombs feels incomplete, like describing a cathedral as merely a building. The sheer, back-breaking effort required to quarry these multi-ton slabs, transport them up near vertical terrain, and fit them together with such exactitude suggests a purpose that resonated far beyond a simple burial. Why choose such remote and breathtaking locations, high above the valleys where daily life unfolded? The placement feels intentional, a deliberate effort to bring the departed closer to the sky, to the mountains themselves, which may have been seen as sacred entities. The uniformity of their design across this vast and rugged region is another profound clue. From the Russian foothills to the Georgian highlands, the same architectural blueprint appears again and again, a testament to a shared belief system so powerful it united disparate communities across a mountain range. This was not a local custom but a regional tradition, a cultural signature etched in stone. But what was the core of that belief? The absence of any associated villages, the fact that no one seems to have lived near these structures, deepens the enigma. These were not places for the living, but destinations. Some researchers propose the portholes were not just for sealing the chamber, but for a specific ritual purpose, perhaps for making offerings to the ancestors or allowing a spirit to pass through. Others look to the sky, noting that the alignments of certain dolmens appear to frame celestial events, like the sunrise on a solstice, transforming the entire structure into a sacred clock that connected the cycles of life and death with the eternal rhythms of the cosmos. The people who built them left no written records, no grand cities, only these silent stone houses on the high slopes. They invested their greatest communal effort not in monuments to their own power, but in these enigmatic resting places, turning the entire mountain range into a vast, open-air sanctuary for their ancestors. The true meaning of the rituals performed here, the names of the gods they honored, and the specific journey they believed the soul took after its earthly life, are secrets the dolmens have kept for 5,000 years, their circular doorways now opening only onto the wind. Our final journey leads to a place where silence has a different texture, a profound dryness that has swallowed even the memory of names. In the vast, sun-bleached expanse of Chile's Atacama Desert, the 30th enclosure is not one site but many, a collection of unnamed stone arrangements scattered across the driest landscape on Earth. These are not grand, towering monuments, but subtle lines and low circles built by pre-Columbian cultures who mastered an environment that feels almost alien to human life. The very existence of these structures is a profound contradiction. Why would anyone invest immense effort here, in a place where the search for water would have been a constant, all-consuming struggle? The absence of nearby water sources or any obvious resources makes the idea of a permanent settlement seem impossible. This forces us to consider more transient purposes. Could these lines have served as way stations along ancient trade routes, faint stone breadcrumbs guiding caravans carrying precious goods like obsidian or salt across the terrifying emptiness? The layout of some sites suggests another compelling possibility, that they were astronomical markers, a desert calendar written in rock to track the sun and stars for nomadic groups who followed the scarce rains. Yet the sheer austerity of the location also whispers of a spiritual motive. In a land where life hangs by a thread, appeasing the deities of the sun, the wind, and the rare, life-giving rain would have been a matter of survival. These enclosures might have been ritual sites, places of offering and prayer where communities sought to negotiate with the powerful, indifferent forces of the desert. The extreme aridity that makes the Atacama so forbidding is the very thing that has preserved these puzzles so perfectly, freezing them in time with almost no erosion. But this same climate has also erased the softer clues, the organic traces of food, tools, and ceremonial objects that would normally help archaeologists build a story. We are left with the stones and their stark relationship with the land, a relationship we can measure and map but cannot fully comprehend. This represents the ultimate challenge in the search for meaning, interpreting human intention in a landscape that seems to defy it entirely. These unnamed stones are a silent testament to a different kind of resilience, a will not just to survive, but to impose order and meaning onto the most unforgiving canvas imaginable. They ask us not who built them, but what powerful idea was compelling enough to make a home in the absolute silence of the desert. These recurring patterns across continents speak to a shared human heritage. From the high deserts of Peru to the green hills of Ireland, ancient builders repeatedly turned their eyes to the heavens, engineering stone to track the sun, the moon, and the stars. This was not a coincidence but a profound, universal need to anchor human life within the grand cycles of the cosmos, to predict the seasons for planting and harvest, and perhaps to feel a sense of order in a vast and often unpredictable world. Equally widespread was the deep-seated need to honor those who had passed. Many of these enclosures served as final resting places or memorial sites, their construction a physical act of remembrance that connected the community to its ancestors and the enduring landscape. The choice of location itself is another powerful common thread. These structures were not placed for convenience, but were deliberately set in dramatic and often difficult landscapes, on remote cliffs, within sacred mountains, or under immense skies, as if the power of the place was an essential ingredient in their purpose. The sheer scale of labor involved in so many sites points to another fundamental human drive, the need for social cohesion. The act of building together, of moving mountains of stone for a shared goal, would have forged powerful bonds, creating a collective identity and a tangible symbol of community strength that could last for generations. Yet for all these universal themes, the variations are just as telling. A stone circle in Portugal is not the same as a wheel in the Jordanian desert. A cliffside fort in Ireland serves a different communal need than a lone tomb in the Saudi sands. Each culture interpreted these fundamental human concerns through the lens of its own environment, its own resources, and its own unique worldview. They used the local stone, they adapted to the local terrain, and they infused their structures with meanings specific to their beliefs. This beautiful tension between the universal and the unique is what makes this global puzzle so captivating. We recognize our own deepest questions reflected in these stones, yet we are humbled by the countless, distinct answers that ancient cultures carved into the earth, a timeless legacy of ingenuity that continues to invite our wonder and command our respect. Our journey through these 30 silent sites leaves us with a profound sense of humility. We have walked among stones that witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations, yet their primary reason for being remains just beyond our grasp. These enclosures are a powerful testament to the vast gaps in our historical understanding, reminding us that the human past is far more complex and mysterious than any textbook can contain. From the solitary tomb in the desert to the vast astronomical complex on the moor, each structure challenges us to think more creatively about the people who came before us. They were not primitive but profoundly ingenious, channeling their collective will into projects that served the deepest needs of their communities, needs that we can only infer from the silent evidence they left behind. This global puzzle ultimately reveals the incredible diversity of human belief and ingenuity. Different cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, arrived at similar architectural solutions for marking time, honoring their ancestors, and forging a shared identity. Yet each site is also uniquely shaped by its local environment and worldview, a beautiful blend of universal human drives and distinct cultural expression. As we reflect on these enduring stones, let them inspire not frustration, but a deeper curiosity and a lasting respect for the cultures that built them. Their legacy is an invitation to keep questioning, to keep exploring, and to approach the past with a sense of wonder. If this journey into history's greatest mysteries has sparked your imagination, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for more explorations into the forgotten corners of our world. Thank you for watching, and may your own travels, wherever they lead, be filled with discovery.